Good morning, beautiful. It's great to see you. How do you like my Obi-Wan Kenobi look? It's just a little cool today, but maybe I'll put it back here. Or it'll fall off or something. Yeah, feels annoying now I'm talking to you. So I'm going to start outside because there's flowers out here and it's beautiful, but then I'm going to go inside because I want to read you something. But see, we can't miss this. Here are the autumn crocuses. Morning, Mike. Isn't this gorgeous? Did I say more? Probably not. They are fabulous. Have a look at the subtle texture of the colouring on the petals. It's not all the same. Don't know how well you can see it. Let me see it. There you go. Now you can see it. They're kind of checkered. It's a fabulous thing that I like about these. And that's the glass recycling truck. Good morning, Kay. It's another reason to go inside because they'll be here for a little bit longer. So here are the Japanese anemones, and the white rose, let me walk across this garden, is just going great guns. So I'm really enjoying that. It's beautiful. Yeah, welcome to Sunday, Monday, Kay, wherever you are. It's lovely to have you with me. It's lovely to have everybody with me who joins in and jumps on. And let's continue to walk in the garden and enjoy the Luculia because it just keeps going. Let's have some focus. There you go. Now you can see the flower. It's just beautiful. Oh, so fragrant. These ones are really fragrant. The rose is not so fragrant. It's iceberg, and iceberg it's got a scent, but it's not huge. These are fragrant. You can see they're starting to age, but they're still fabulous. They're just amazing. And remember this is the first time this clump has flowered in quite some time. And I thought they were white. Turns out I had forgotten. These ones are pink. So, camera, please. There you go. You can see it's just starting to open. So these are exceptionally fragrant, these ones. And I moved them from somewhere where they weren't doing well. So what else have we got today? Just before we go inside, you can see it's overcast. And there are late flowers in the garden. It's all a little bit scruffy, but that's because I spent the weekend doing other things. And I want to show you this. And I can get away with doing less in the garden at this time because it's autumn and things slow down. And these are just lovely. There's the dahlias, of course, and you can see they need deadheading, which is very important because these ones make real seeds, and you can imagine that it's not pretty. If you have something like this is one that I pulled off before, and it has all of these live seeds in it, it gets messy. I didn't actually show you the thing. See, there's the seed head, but that's just one I cut off. So, yeah, I've got a 10-minute job to do sometime. So, yeah. It is a lovely shade. The magenta is gorgeous. You're right. And they were a gift from the neighbours. I'm going to go inside now because they had one that made seeds and the seeds flew over, and those are the ones I kept. So, keys. We'll go inside and I'll read you something as a preface, or as a start actually, of what I want to talk about today. So, here we go. I think I better turn on the light. It's kind of dark in here. But I'm not showing rocks, and there's enough light for me. So I'll live with what I got. Let me just put this in its little stand. Oh, happy faces. Thank you. Good morning, beautiful people. So I'm going to read you a little bit from this book, which hopefully isn't back to front for you, but if it is, it says The Heart Math Solution. And these are people who have been who've been researching. May Britt, it's you! Good day! And they've been researching the effects of heart coherence for a long time, and they have a very close relationship with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, which of course has transformed me. And so I'm reading this book, which just synchronistically arrived in my life. G'day, Abigail! So this is from a piece about chronic stress, and I just want to read this because it's what makes sense about this post. Stress is the body and mind's response to any pressure that disrupts their normal balance. It occurs when our perceptions of events don't meet our expectations and we don't manage our reaction to the disappointment. Stress, that unmanaged reaction, expresses itself as a resistance, tension, strain, or frustration, throwing off our physiological and psychological equilibrium and keeping us out of sync. Doesn't sound so good. If our equilibrium is disturbed for long, the stress becomes disabling. We fade from overload, feel emotionally shut down, and eventually get sick. Gee, does that sound like anyone I know? Today, it's recognised that the body's stress response encompasses more than, listen to this, 1,400 known physical and chemical reactions and over 30 different hormones and neurotransmitters. That is a lot of very immediate chemical, physical impact, right? That's the stress response. Every time you lose your rag, that's happening. I mean, this is, big numbers. The two key physiological systems that coordinate the body's response to stress are the autonomic nervous system, which reacts almost immediately, and the hormonal systems, whose reactions occur and persist over a longer time. That's important. But even organs that aren't considered part of either of those systems, such as the stomach and kidneys, also pour out hormones to accomplish the body's vast response to stress. So it's a big deal when we get stressed. When we experience stress, our bodies quickly react by releasing the hormone adrenaline into the bloodstream. Adrenaline elevates our heart rate and blood pressure, tenses up our muscles, speeds our breathing, preparing us to confront the threat or run for our lives. That's the survival response, right? Other hormones, including noradrenaline and cortisol, are also activated under stress. Now listen to this, for anyone who's got chronic pain. If not checked, the perpetual release of these hormones sears the body like acid. A lot of people, I've come to understand, listening to people tell these stories of healing themselves from chronic pain, doing Joe's work, they're just, they're in pain all the time. It's literally like their body's on fire, and this is how it happens. The hormones just keep on pouring, and then they burn. They're great in the short term, not in the long term. Even hours after the stress has subsided, these hormonal levels can remain high. Cortisol has come to be known as the stress hormone because of the extensive role it plays in the body's response to stress. In balanced amounts, cortisol is essential for the healthy functioning of our bodies, but when levels rise too high, it can be extremely damaging to our system. When we're under chronic stress and our bodies produce high levels of cortisol over long periods of time, the brain's internal thermostat resets and directs the body to maintain a higher level of cortisol production, thinking that this is normal. This is what happens. It's just wow, Chronically elevated levels of cortisol have been shown to impair immune function, reduce glucose utilization, i.e. that's a connection to diabetes, impair immune function can lead to autoimmune problems, reduce glucose utilization can lead to diabetes, increase bone loss and promote osteoporosis, reduce muscle mass, inhibit skin growth and regeneration, increase fat accumulation, especially around the waist and hips, who knew that it was located, impair memory and learning, and destroy brain cells. Chronic stress accumulates day by day, week by week, year by year. For most people, it's the daily accumulation that does the most damage. The little stresses add up far more than the big jolts do. We adjust everyday stress, but it's a totally unnecessary habit, and the steady biochemical pounding that results takes its toll on our bodies. And I'm going to stop there, which is like, oh my God, don't leave me there. So the point being that we think that you have a big trauma, that is, and it can often trigger people, they might have been in chronic stress for a long time, and then something traumatic happens and some switch flips and they get sick however long after it, and they think, well, it was because of this. But actually it's because they've been in long-term, hello, this is me, right? They have been in long-term, low-level or sometimes quite high-level stress for a long time. Oh, wow, Abigail, of course you are. You change yourself. You see, you get out of stress, you change the hormonal balance in your body, and it is instant. But there's a piece a little bit further along in the book, and I'm jumping around all over the place, but that's so exciting, Abigail, whoopee. That, if your body is accustomed to being in this elevated mode. Remember, the baseline has reset. It's higher than it should be. It's higher than what was normal. You know, as Joe says, that what's abnormal becomes the new normal. And then your normal is abnormal. Dale, g'day, sweetie. And we get stuck up here, right? Oh, of course. I may not remember, Dale. You may have to remind me every time. It's lovely to see you, Lindsay. So, you know, we get stuck. We think that our normal is normal, but it's not. Our baseline is up here because it's become what the body is used to, and the brain just sets it up there because that's what it thinks it is. And so we're getting this signal at a cellular level all the time, which says, I'm under stress, I'm under stress, I'm under stress, but we think it's normal because it's just who we are. It's just how our life is, that, you know, I'm dealing with that difficult person in that situation and it's just normal. But for the body, it doesn't matter. For the body, your cells are being, my cells are being signaled all the time. All the time. And this is the thing that I have been really, really aware of recently, because I've been catching myself noticing a thing that's going on in my body and having a normal but not helpful thought about it over and over again. And what I've realized is every time I have that thought and have the emotional reaction to that thought, I'm pouring the same chemistry again. Yeah, you claim the cure, Abigail, because he's speaking about normal and natural, and you're doing something that isn't normal and isn't natural. And you're right. You're absolutely right. And you stay in the feeling of it. See, you and I are doing the same dance. Because if you think about your eyes, and we seem to be talking about eyes today, so let's talk about eyes. If you're thinking about your eyes and you're thinking about, well, I feel, you know, there's no disease there and that's great, but the doctor says it could come back. And if you focus on the fact that that it could come back, the chemistry that you're sending to your body, if it comes with fear, is literally signaling your body to get towards that, if not straight out to do it. And there's a whole lot of science about how that works too. If on the other hand, you do not, as Joe says, accept, believe and surrender to that possibility, and you continue to say, hey, I'm doing this, I'm overcoming this, I am healing myself, I do make a difference, I can signal my genes by creating a different emotion, which is the piece I got to remember to talk about. And if you keep doing that, every time the thought comes up and says, oh, but it might just be a remission and it might come back. No, I am healing myself. And it's not enough to just have the thought. You've got to make some shift about how you're feeling about it. Until you get mind and body in alignment and start creating different feelings, the cells don't get a different signal. And so that's why I'm wanting to say that no matter what's going on, if you want to start healing your body, and there's a lot more to it than this, but this is a start, you can't go wrong by consciously choosing to create heart coherence and generate more positive or elevated emotions, or even just neutral. Because indulging the fear and the analysing and trying to work it out, and I've got this and I've got that and the doctor said that and I've seen this and I've noticed that and these were my test results, all of that is focusing on the thing and continuing to signal the cell about the old thing. And I have to stop telling the story to myself, because every time I do that, I'm sending the old signal. And I've become really acutely aware of this. And I'm healing, by the way. I am healing. But I am physically, I am noticing physical changes in my body, things that have been chronic, going on for ages. Some of them I can't notice. I'm going to have to wait for another blood test, But this is a physical thing that I've noticed that, because there's a number of small things, and I'm not dealing with anything dangerous or scary, but, it's been dangerous and scary to me, but compared to what some people face, it's nothing. However, in my head, it's, it's like Mount Everest. So I have to, from moment to moment, realize that as soon as I allow my thought and then my feeling to go down the old path of looking at this and I'm back in the past, because I've done that for a long time about all kinds of things, trying to unpack it and sort it out and work it out, and that's the past, and that's sending the old signal to the cell. But if I get better at coming into my heart, opening my heart, feeling positive emotions, and it was so foreign to me to do this. Oh, thank you, Lindsay. You're a sweetie. I will reply to your comments later properly or I'll get horribly distracted. If I start giving my body a different electromagnetic signal, then my cells, if I can continue to do it, even though my body is saying, hang on a minute, you reset my baseline. Morning, Jen. You got me used to being like this. And now you want me to be like this again? But I'm a stress junkie. And so the thoughts come up and you feel like climbing the walls. Or you feel really awful. Or things, and this has been the last 3 days. Weird shit happens. And you think, what is this about? What's this showing me? And I did, because this is really weird shit 3 times in the last 3 days. Has really weird shit come up. And I thought, I know this is telling me something. And I worked it out. Well, I didn't work it out. It came to me this morning in my meditation. I understood what I was dealing with, very, very extreme unworthiness. And it took these experiences to bring it up for me so I could see it and move through it. I've got a feeling there's a little bit more to do with that, but I can now kind of face myself without wanting to curl up and lie. Yeah, me! That happens to me, okay? In case anybody thinks, how could you feel like that, Maddie? Well, it happens. Because how many lifetimes am I working with now? All of them! Just like you. There's no such thing as past lives and future lives. It's all now. It's all here on a head of a pin. But that's too big. Time is the 0 point, and where you look is what you experience. What you perceive, what you tune into, that is the dimension of all of the limitless ones that you tune into. So, and experience. And so what I put my attention on, whether I'm choosing my emotions, whether I'm choosing my thoughts, whether I go down the old familiar path, which is so seductive to me and so easy, and it becomes who I am in the story I tell myself and all I focus on, and it defines who I am. And I'm in the process of breaking my addiction to that self. And it's surprisingly intense some days. It's like, oh my God. So it's very challenging. And I'm so aware, I keep feeling like I'm living in a glass bubble because my life is so quote unquote easy compared to many people. I know that. And at the same time, it's just as challenging for me as it is for many people because I got to overcome myself. And so whatever it is we are facing, to realize that if I'm thinking the same thought and feeling the same feeling and trying to solve the challenge in the same old way, there's no new information hitting my body, chemically or electromagnetically. And I'm in fear, so my heart's incoherent, and that means there's some degree of stress going on in my body. This is the thing that I've talked about heart coherence for ages, but I'm just getting more understanding. It's instant, from beat to beat to beat. Our hearts sends information to our entire body. Every pulse, every beat, every electromagnetic wave. Never mind the chemistry which the heart produces. There's so much information, every single beat. So every thought and every emotion that we consciously allow ourselves to experience or unconsciously just do, because it's automatic, is having an effect. Which is at once overwhelming and at the same time, well shit, I can actually change that if I just realise that my body is an addict and it's going to feel really, really weird and downright impossible and hard sometimes to do something different, completely unfamiliar. I'm not used to feeling happy, So it's the most basic thing. But the reason I wanted to read you that little excerpt, and learn some more yourself, is to understand that moment to moment we have this ability to change ourselves. And it really is instant in terms of you have a different thought, you have a different feeling, it's going to hit your cells. You got to have the feeling, it's not enough to just have the thought. And even if you can yank yourself back from, oh my God, I want to scream, to neutral, that's a massive victory. But the reason why that part is instant and the change in your body can take however long it takes, and we can't predict that, is because you've been sending a different signal to your cells for who knows how long, and you programmed them. And you programmed them for a long time. They got really conditioned to be the body of your fear or your anger or your depression or your whatever. The body of your stress expressed in your particular way with your particular batch of chemistry that you've been pouring with your particular thoughts and feelings and behaviours and the way you are for however long you've been doing it. So it's going to take some time to turn it around. It's going to take some time to turn it around. Well, it's all related, Lindsay, and I get it. And for me, the fifth energy centre has been, it turns out that this where a lot of stuff has been stuck for me. My prescription for that is to go and do Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations, Blessing of the Energy Centres, and work your way through those. You don't actually know where it's stuck, because everything's connected. And while, things tend to really jam when I get to this one and make it coherent, if I just worked on that, it wouldn't do it. You've got to work with the whole system. That's all I'm going to say about that. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that this week. I don't want to stand in the master's shoes because I'm not Joe Dispenza, I'm Maddie Schaefer. But I can talk about it from my own perspective and what I know. But I encourage you to go and get some information straight from the master's mouth. Do some of your own investigation, read some of his books, listen to his videos, get some meditation and get into them. If you haven't already. Because if you dedicate yourself to that work, you will change your life. You have to overcome yourself to do it. So, sometimes I scream into this cushion, but I haven't needed to do it for a long time because it's less jammed. So I'm out of time. There was a bit of a rabbit and a bit of a rave. The thing I wanted to say is, moment to moment we have this choice, but the change can take time because we've programmed ourselves and we have to program ourselves differently. And we have to do it in the presence of the old programming and the old physical experience. We have to become something new until it's natural and normal, and then we are that, and then things change. And the last thing I want to say is, I would love to know your pain point questions. Obviously, we're going to be talking about, the throat or something related to do with that. But I'd love to know what you are, anything that's narking or pinging or just being a bit annoying, because I guarantee it won't just be you. It'll be useful to someone else. Drop me a messenger or in a comment, I don't mind. Thank you for joining me. Big love. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.